So, mate, this film, I had a chance to sit down and watch it, and it's absolutely amazing. But our listeners haven't had a chance to see it yet, so I was wondering if you could start off by telling our listeners a little bit about the story with this film.
Sure. So it's about a guy who's on his way to prison, and he gets intercepted by a secret government agency, and he's taken to a facility where he has to monitor a subject in the other room. And that subject in the other room is non-existent to begin with, but slowly begins to grow in the space and haunt him.
So, tell us a little bit about where the idea came from, because I found watching this film, it's one of those films where you become so intrigued with what's happening, there's no way to predict what's going to happen next. How did you become involved with the film, and what were your thoughts when you first read Vincent's screenplay?
Yes, I was actually really, I suppose, fearful to think about producing it, because there were so many unknowns and it was very dark, and it was one of it's probably the darkest script I've ever read, and that's because in the script it goes a lot further than what we see on screen. We actually withheld some of the things because I think, it's always scarier in your imagination. So when I saw his script, it was something like that I immediately was drawn to because I wanted the challenge to do it. And even when we premiered it the other day at Monster Fest, I was scared what the audience would, how they would respond to it. But we got an overwhelming response, and I suppose it's one of those kind of riskier films in that way.
As a director and a producer, how much did you have to go into thinking, what do we hold back from the audience? Like you said, there was more in the screenplay originally. What were those conversations like where you were trying to decide what do we hold back and what do we include in the film?
Yeah, well, I suppose what we wanted to do is have the audience come up with their own theories on everything that's kind of going on throughout, and so you kind of get pieces to the puzzle, but not all the pieces, if that makes sense. And so we're actually developing a website as well that you can log on to the secret government agency, and start to get more of those pieces to what that monster exactly is, and how it exists in everyone's lives, actually.
Is this a topic or a theme with this film that you might look at like exploring in a sequel or in something else down the track? You just mentioned the website, but it almost felt like this film ends when the next part of the chapter is just starting. Is that something that you would look at in the future?
Yeah, definitely. The Vincent actually started scripting the sequel, and we were so lucky that the film has kind of got the response it has. It's been picked up in the States by a really big distributor over there, which we're very excited about, and it'll get a release next year. So I mean, things are kind of already in the works for it. For it kind of unfolding into its kind of sequel territory, but we didn't really expect that would be the case. We didn't know how it would kind of come out, and that's really a testament to I suppose the actors and the main actor Steve Phillips in the film, because he really holds the space for that 90 minutes, and he kind of lived when we shot in a warehouse in Melbourne, and that we built the set in, and he lived in that space, for 10 days. He really inhabited it and really went through the range of, I suppose, trauma that, his character had to go through. So it was really, I mean, we were so lucky to have him and have the way he worked.
I was going to ask it later, but I'll ask it now, seeing you just touched on it. How did you discover Stephen? Because he is absolutely brilliant in this film. How did you discover him for the role?
He actually was he was my acting coach, and at drama school, and he's been like I suppose a jobbing actor in Australia and the US for the last 20 years. He's done a lot of theatre work, but more, I suppose, not your kind of classic, posh theatre. He's done a lot of like really experimental, crazy sort of theatrical works. He's also worked with some of the kind of big famous Berlin theatre companies, and I suppose the reason why he's so skilled in that way is that he really isn't afraid to go to different places, and with the monster as well that grows to haunt him. It was played by another really close friend of ours, Joey Lay, and that allowed the monster to get very, very kind of intimate and freakishly intimate with Steve as well. So there's some moments in the film which we left the camera rolling for a lot longer, and they were a lot more disgusting, but we kind of landed on where they ended the film, which just gives you a glimpse of the horrors that he's going through in this space.
You played Dulesky in this as well. What was that like, acting alongside your acting coach?
Yeah, it was great, actually. He really he kind of stepped in to save me, because that role was supposed to be played by another actor who unfortunately his wife, who was pregnant at the time, got sick and he had to pull out last minute. And we scrambled to try and find someone to play Dulesky, and luckily we were kind of able to rejig the shoot a bit and gave me a few days to learn the lines when we couldn't find any other actors. But I really enjoyed it, because I mean, that character is it's kind of a side character that can have a lot of fun. Like I didn't have I didn't have to go through the battles that Steve had to do. I just really had to make some creative choices and have a lot of fun with him. So yeah, I really enjoyed it.
There's a real claustrophobic feel when you watch this film, and I guess that kind of comes from the fact that Stephen lived in that space during that time. Was that something that you talked about wanting to have with the film, and did any of the COVID restrictions or anything around the film also enhance that kind of claustrophobic feel with the film?
Yeah, it definitely, like the space, and I don't know if it was the space, being in Melbourne winter and in the kind of a cold, dank warehouse that we built the set, but I mean, we as the team behind, like we started to get sick in ways that were really kind of freakish. A lot of the cast were having nightmares, and like really like vivid nightmares, that you could kind of equate to kind of sleep paralysis sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So, during the process, we were actually going, are we getting haunted? Like, what have we tapped into right now? I was getting so like sick. I started to get like sores over my hands and on my lips, like kind of like a cold sore sort of style thing. And I, went to the doctor, and it was about, they told me it was to do with my immune system just kind of shutting down. But just weird stuff like that I'd never experienced and never had that sickness before. So yeah, it was very claustrophobic and very, very intense, to kind of, to put it lightly.
So, as you said, the film had a successful premiere the other night at Monster Fest. It also will be screening at Monster Fest right around Australia. But what's the plans for the film after that? It's such a great film. Will it get a cinema release in Australia, and will people overseas get a chance to see it as well?
Yeah. So it's being released via Umbrella Entertainment in Australia, and as I said, there's a big distributor in the US who's picked it up, which is awesome. And so it should get a wide release there next year, which is just incredible. That something on such a small budget and just small kind of local team and has kind of managed to do that. So yeah, I mean, it's screening at Monster Fest around the country tomorrow. So definitely, if you get a chance to check it out before it gets kind of hyped up and out to cinemas next year.
Awesome. Well, Tristan, what would you like to say to everybody out there who are thinking about seeing it at Monster Fest tomorrow, but also who will be sitting down to watch this film in the future as well?
I think I'd just like to say thank you for supporting it, and we really appreciate the people watching and engaging with it, and also definitely when you get a chance, we will have the website up soon, so you'll actually be able to engage with the story further, and I hope you enjoy it.